everyone, welcome to our writing video for this week. This week our assignment is to compare and contrast two different things. And so I'm going to do a little demonstration of that with you today, just to give you an idea of how you can compare and contrast and how to use a Venn diagram to do that. So one of the topics you could choose from were to compare two planets. And that's because our Storytown story last week and this week has to do with the solar system. Plus, we spent a lot of time before Christmas break in December learning about the solar system. And so you may want to choose one of your planets as the one that you researched or studied in class. So as you can see, I chose Earth and Saturn to compare. Earth, mostly because I am very familiar with that planet because that's where we live. And Saturn, I just chose because I like Saturn. It has the beautiful rings, it's a gas giant, and I felt like I could find some similarities and differences between Earth and Saturn. So I made a Venn diagram to help organize my thoughts, and as we can tell from a Venn diagram, the facts that are on the outside of the circles are only for that particular planet. For instance, all of the facts that I have on the left-hand side are for the planet Earth, and then the facts that I have over on the right-hand side are for the planet Saturn. And then the ones that are in the middle are the facts that are similar between both planets. And so I wanted to share with you some of the facts that I came up with, and I used my Storytown book to help me come up with some facts to make sure they were accurate, because lesson 29 gave a lot of good facts about the planets. And even in lesson 30, the Reader's Theater, it talks about some factual information about the planets as well. So first I said that Earth is the third planet from the sun, and then Saturn is the sixth planet from the sun. So because they are different distances away from the sun, that makes this a difference and a way that we would contrast Earth and Saturn. My next fact was that Earth is suitable for life to exist. So we have air and water that we need to survive here on Earth. It's just the right temperature. But Saturn is a gas giant, so therefore there is no life found on the planet Saturn. So that, again, would be a way to contrast the two planets because they are different. Next, I said that Earth has no rings, whereas Saturn has hundreds of rings made of ice. So that would be another difference between the two. And lastly, Earth has only one moon, whereas Saturn has more than 46 moons. So that was where I got a fact from the book. I think there's been well over 60-some moons discovered for Saturn, but I just went along with the fact that was in the book. So more than 46 at least. And then in the middle is where we are comparing Earth and Saturn. So where the two circles overlap shows my similarities. So I said that both revolve around the sun. So that's true. Both the Earth and Saturn have to move around the sun. Now they may do that at a different speed, or it might take them a different length of time to do that, but it is still a similarity that both planets revolve around the sun. Also, I said both rotate to create day and night. So both planets are spinning on their axis to create day and night on that planet. And again, the times for that and the speed at which the Earth and Saturn rotate may differ, but the similarity is that both planets are rotating. And the third similarity I gave was that both are part of the Milky Way galaxy. Both Earth and Saturn are found within our galaxy, our solar system that we call the Milky Way. And so I suggest that you come up with at least 3 similarities and 3 differences, because when we get to the writing portion, you're going to need at least 4 to 5 sentences to create a really strong paragraph. So I want to show you now the paragraph that I wrote, combining the facts and details that I used on my organizer. The Venn diagram organizer, remember guys, is just an optional tool to help you organize your thoughts. You could simply jot some things down on a piece of scratch paper. It doesn't have to be in a Venn diagram format. You could just make a list of things that are the same and a list of things that are different. But I felt a Venn diagram was suitable for my example here. So in the top corner here, I just give a little reminder as to what we need to remember whenever we are working on this assignment here. So we need to remember that we need one paragraph to compare our topics and another paragraph to contrast them. That's one to say how the two items are the same and one paragraph on how they are different. Each paragraph should be 4 to 5 sentences. You could have more than that, but 4 to 5 is a very strong paragraph. Each paragraph, we need to remember to indent the first line, and we need to make sure that we check for spelling, punctuation, and correct capitalization. Now, one idea when you are writing your paragraphs could be to use a computer. You could practice your typing skills and type your sentences, or you can just simply write in a notebook or on a piece of paper. Now, one thing I need to do when looking at my paragraph here is I need to indent the first line of my paragraph. Well, that just took it away completely, so let me retype. All right, so there I have my first paragraph, and the first line is indented. Now you want to have a topic sentence to introduce your paragraph, what you're writing about. And so if we take a look at what I said, and I'm going to highlight my topic sentence, there are several similarities between the planets Earth and Saturn. There are several similarities between the planets Earth and Saturn. So now you know I'm going to be talking about how these planets are the same. I'm also using some transition words. For instance, both planets revolve around the sun. This means they move around the sun in an orbit, which creates a year on that planet. So I've listed out the first similarity, and I gave a little more detail and explanation about that. I didn't just say they both revolve around the sun. I explained what that meant to revolve. They go in an orbit, and that creates a year. Next, I said Earth and Saturn are also found in our galaxy called the Milky Way. Also is one of those transition words that we use whenever we are comparing things, because also means kind of together or both. So I gave my second similarity. They're both in the Milky Way galaxy. And then I said, finally, both the Earth and Saturn rotate or spin on an imaginary axis. This creates day and night on each planet. So I gave some kind of transition words to start my sentences to know that I'm comparing. And I said in my last sentence, both the Earth and the sun. So that is a key word to use when you're comparing two things together. Now, when I go to my next paragraph, this is where I'm going to tell how my two planets are different. And I just pushed in that first line to indent it. And I need to start with another topic sentence. I said, despite their similarities, there are many differences between Earth and Saturn. So that's basically saying even though they are similar, there are differences too. So I'm introducing what this paragraph is going to be about, which is the differences between Earth and Saturn. And then I used a couple other transitional words. For one, that's another way of saying, for example, Earth is closer to the sun. It is the third planet from the sun. However, Saturn is the sixth. However is one of those words that tells you you're giving a difference between two things. So I explained one difference. Earth is closer to the sun, and I elaborated a little bit by saying that it's the third planet from the sun and that Saturn is the sixth planet. So I gave a little extra detail. In addition, that's just another lead in to tell my next example. In addition, Earth is the only planet where life can exist. Saturn does not have water and oxygen needed for living things. So again, I listed another example of how the two planets are different, and I explained how one is suitable for life, whereas the other does not have what's needed for living things. Then I go on to my third example. Saturn has hundreds of rings made of ice and more than 46 moons. So I can kind of combine two facts together, the rings and all of the moons that Saturn has. Earth, on the other hand, so now I'm telling the opposite with Earth, on the other hand, does not have any rings around it and only has one moon. So I listed the difference between Earth and Saturn with the moons and rings. As you can see, there are several similarities and differences among Earth and Saturn. So that would be my concluding sentence, which is kind of wrapping everything up and pulling it all together. Because in my two paragraphs, I wrote about the similarities and the differences between Earth and Saturn. So, boys and girls, I encourage you to maybe think about two planets that you could compare and contrast. But if you'd rather not do two planets, you could also do two other topics, like maybe two sports, or you could compare two animals together. So we are going to work together to compare soccer and ice hockey. And when I say work together, I mean I will be doing all of the work and you're still listening along. So I want you to think, though, of soccer and hockey and what you know about those two sports. And if you'd like, you can compare along with me and you can use this as your example for your paragraph. Now, soccer and hockey are both team sports because you need more than one player to participate. So these really aren't individual sports, but they are both team sports. So that could be a similarity. Both hockey and soccer have goalies. And both, we could say, are forms of exercise. We could say how they help keep you active and fit. So sometimes it's easiest to come up with the similarities between two topics. Sometimes it's easier to come up with the differences. So in soccer, we use a soccer ball, and then in hockey, you use a hockey puck. So I'll just put a puck there. So some of the equipment is different. In soccer, you can play on grass or turf. Make this a little smaller maybe. Ooh, too small. So when we play soccer, we can play it on grass or turf. And then when we play hockey, especially since it's ice hockey that I am focusing on, we play, obviously, on ice. All right, there we go. That's a little better. So we play on ice. Okay, here we go. So now we need another difference. Well, with soccer, we have, what am I trying to say here? We have 10 players plus a goalie, so that makes 11 players in all on the field at once. And then with hockey, you have 5 players and a goalie, so you have 6 players at a time on the ice. All right, so if you do something to help organize your thoughts, that might make writing your paragraphs a little bit easier. And obviously I need to expand on these details and go into more elaboration when talking about the similarities and differences between soccer and ice hockey. So I'm going to go down a little bit. That way I can go up and down to kind of see my details. So I'm going to start my first paragraph. And maybe this time I'm going to start with the differences between soccer and ice hockey, because it really doesn't matter if you start with your comparing paragraph or the contrasting one. So I'm going to start by saying soccer and ice hockey are two very different sports. All right, now I need to do some fixing here since I'm typing this. And right now the font is very large, so let me shrink this down a little bit. All right, so soccer and ice hockey are two very different sports. What the heck? For one, soccer is played with a round soccer ball. Hockey is played with a hockey puck. And I'm going to give a little more detail here. A soccer ball is shaped like a sphere, but a puck is shaped like a, you know what it is? Cylinder. That was just something for fun to add in there. That just goes to show even more that the two sports are different because of what they are played with. Now I do need to go back and indent my first sentence here. So I pushed it in a little bit. So I said soccer and ice hockey are two very different sports. For one, soccer is played with a round soccer ball. Hockey is played with a hockey puck. A soccer ball is shaped like a sphere, but a puck is shaped like a cylinder. So that gets rid of my first detail on how the two are different. The second one we came up with was how soccer is played on grass or turf and hockey is played on ice hockey that is. So I might say another difference is where the two sports can be played. Soccer is often played on grass or turf, but hockey is played on the ice. Okay, so that lists another difference where the two sports can be played. Soccer is often played on grass or turf, but hockey is played on the ice. And then the last one is the number of players on the field or on the ice at a time. So I'm going to start with, in soccer, there are 11 total players on the field for each team at a time. However, in hockey, there are only 6 players on the ice for each team. So the total number of players are different. In soccer, there are 11 total players on the field for each, not each time at a time, each team at a time. However, in hockey, there are only 6 players on the ice for each team. So you can even see that I make a lot of mistakes when I'm typing, and not just the letters, but also the words I'm using. So it is very important as a writer to go back and read your work. I'm constantly going back and checking my work and finding mistakes, and I'll read over it once more once I feel that I am complete just to check for good punctuation, check for correct spelling and capitalization of words, and make sure that everything makes sense. So I think I'm finished with my paragraph that compares. I'm sorry, we did the differences, the paragraph that contrasts. So let's take a look. Soccer and ice hockey are two very different sports. Good topic sentence. For one, soccer is played with a round soccer ball. Hockey is played with a hockey puck. A soccer ball is shaped like a sphere, but a puck is shaped like a cylinder. Another difference is where the two sports can be played. Soccer is often played on grass or turf, but hockey is played on the ice. In soccer, there are 11 total players on the field for each team at a time. However, in hockey, there are only 6 players on the ice for each team. So now I need to talk about how the two sports are the same. So I'm going to go to a new line and indent, and here I'm going to talk about those similarities, that they're both team sports, both use a goalie, and both are good forms of exercise. All right, so I might start by saying, even though the two sports are different, there are some similarities between them. So that could be my topic sentence. Even though the two sports are different, there are some similarities between them. And I'm noticing I spelled similarities wrong, so I'm going to fix that. Nice thing about typing your paragraphs is you have spell check available. All right, so now I need to get into those details. I'm going to say both sports are great ways to exercise and stay active. Both sports are great ways to exercise and stay active. Also, soccer and hockey are both team sports. You need more than one player in order to participate in that sport. Okay, so I gave a little more detail on this example. Soccer and hockey are both team sports. You need more than one player in order to participate in that sport. All right, and then my last detail was that they both require a goalie. So I might say, finally, both sports require a goalie to defend the net. So a goalie is required in both sports. Finally, both sports require a goalie to defend, how about I say, their team's net. The goalies wear oh my gosh, I really cannot type. Special protective gear in both soccer and hockey, especially in hockey. But I know in soccer, sometimes goalies will wear a helmet or they wear gloves, to protect their hands and help give them a better grip on the ball. Sometimes goalies will wear a mouth guard in soccer because soccer balls are, flying at their face often, and that could really damage your mouth if you get hit. So just giving a little more detail about the goalies. And now I need an ending sentence to kind of wrap my 2 paragraphs up. So I could say something like, as you can see, both soccer and hockey are similar yet different too. All right, let's see. Even though the two sports are different, there are some similarities between them. Both sports are great ways to exercise and stay active. Also, soccer and hockey are both team sports. You need more than one player in order to participate in that sport. Finally, both sports require a goalie to defend their team's net. The goalies wear special protective gear in both soccer and hockey. As you can see, both soccer and hockey are similar, yet different too. So, all in all, for going through this kind of quickly and not really getting a lot of good feedback from you guys like I would if we were in class together, I would say that's a very good writing assignment here, comparing and contrasting soccer and hockey together. Now, you can come up with your own topics to compare. I know in your assignment sheet we had the ideas of comparing two planets, two sports, two animals. If there's something else that you would really love to compare, maybe like two different games or two different movies, two different books, I am fine with you choosing two topics of your choice to compare and contrast. Just remember the requirements. 2 paragraphs. Each paragraph should be 4 to 5 sentences long. You want to make sure you indent your paragraphs, push those first lines in, and make sure you go back and check for correct spelling, capitalization, and punctuation. Okay, if you have any questions or need any help, reach out to your teacher, and don't forget to submit your completed work because I can't wait to read all that you have to say about different topics. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Bye. Maybe. Bye.